my granddad, John, is who I put down. Is who... That sounds like I gave him a lethal injection at a veterinary surgery. I need to be clear, I did not put him down. He died of natural causes in a hospital. Don't call the police.
For you got to the age of 48 and never really considered it before. You're looking at it now kind of going, what's next? What else can come along and change my thoughts on the world? And that can only be a good thing, right? And
do you know what, Baz? I'm thinking that maybe I'm wrong about mushrooms being fucking horrible.
I was literally about to say that same thing.
Hello, and welcome to the Mildly Controversial Podcast. I'm going to start this week's show with something that happened today, Baz.
Yeah.
This wasn't meant to be what I was going to start the podcast with, but when my wife Emma told me this, I was like, I really need to speak about that on the...
it's not the divorce one, is it, we're doing?
The divorce episode. No.
Sorry, carry on.
No, I wouldn't be as chirpy as this if it was the divorce episode, Baz. Basically, cast your minds back to the episode we did with Dana Pereira. We spoke about reincarnation and afterlife, and we both said that we're open-minded about things like that. Although sceptical, we're still open-minded about that. Something happened today that I'm also sceptical about, but remain open-minded about, and it blew me away, if I'm honest. And that thing is that this morning, Emma had a reading by a medium over the phone. She had her cards read and all that. And as soon as I hear those words, I immediately think, bullshit.
Yeah.
When she talked through what the lady said to her, I literally got goosebumps, got quite emotional, and it's relevant to the podcast. So I'll start, Emma's given me a list of things that she took notes as she was on the phone. So before I start, and I'm aware that once I start going through all this, the comment section is going to be full of stuff like, oh, they could have been on the internet, they could have Googled it, because that's how my mind works as well, okay? So yeah. I would have said all those things, okay? So this is not an episode of the podcast where I'm like, I'm into mediums, this is true, shout me down if you dare, because I am a skeptic about this kind of stuff. This for me is either like, this person is a fucking genius, however they've done it, or this is true. So I'm going to go through the notes that Emma made, because Emma contacted this medium to have a reading done on herself. And Emma said that the first 30-40% of the reading was about me. And the lady kept apologising, said, look, I'm sorry that it's all about your husband, but that's everything that I'm getting at the moment. So it took her a long time to get round to actually talking about Emma, which is quite an unusual thing, I should imagine. So
I don't know. Let's face it. But most people, you want them to talk about you, don't you?
Yes, I want everybody to talk about me. I love people talking about me, but in this circumstance, it's slightly different. So I'll kick off by saying that all this person knew of Emma was her first name and her phone number. Okay, because it was done over the phone, right? That's all she knew of her.
Yeah.
So. The medium starts off by saying, you're married, aren't you? To Emma. And Emma says, yes. And she says, is your husband funny? Okay. Which is fucking debatable before you start putting the comments in, all right?
I was about to say something there, but I won't.
I'm not saying, fucking hell, this medium's a genius because she knows I'm funny. Do you know what I mean? Like, stop it. I interrupted myself then. That's not a good thing to do, is it? I nearly said stop interrupting, but it was me. Right, okay. I was preempting people's comments. It was like I was reacting to comments that haven't been written yet.
Yeah, all those no's.
So, Is your husband funny? She says. Does he make people laugh? So Emma says yes. And then the medium says, there's a man and a woman here. They're laughing at him. And I presume laughing with him. Or it's just like, there's a man and a woman here taking a piss out of him. They think he's a dick. No, I don't think it was like that. They were saying, there's a man and a woman here laughing at him. So Emma's telling me this, and I'm thinking, man and a woman? I don't understand, And again, throughout this, you'll have guessed by now that a lot of this is like kind of rings true. And throughout this, and people will be typing in the comment section, oh yeah, because of this, because of that, or this. Oh look, I'm there as well. That's the way my mind works as well. So through a lot of this, I was literally telling myself in my head, don't come out with that's bullshit, because this means a lot to your wife. Do you know what I mean? So I'm kind of like I'm suppressing my kind of my urge to go, this is horse shit. Yeah. Because it means a lot to Emma, and I could see as she was reading through it, it really struck a chord with her. So out of respect for my wife, I was like, right, just fucking dial it in a little bit. Anyway, I think I've painted enough of a picture of the fact that I usually think this sort of stuff is fucking nonsense, right?
Well, I feel like I'm there, so you can.
Yeah, exactly. So, there's a man and a woman here laughing at him, okay? And she says, I feel like he makes people laugh. And the medium said, they want you to let him know that he's funny, and that he makes them laugh. So this man and woman, who are from the other side, I'm making them laugh apparently. And then she said, he makes you laugh, doesn't he? To Emma. And she said, yeah. And then the medium said, he'll always do that. You'll grow old together laughing. Which is something that laughter and humour and us not taking each other too seriously is something that has been kind of the bedrock of our relationship for 20 odd years. So that's kind of a nice thing to say. And then the medium said, I want to meet him. He sounds really, I can see he's really funny and I'd like to meet him. Don't get me wrong, she's not going to go to that, where do you live? I'm coming round. Do you know what I mean? It's not that type of thing. And then it said, these people who are laughing are on his mum's side. And then she said, is there a Michael or a Mike around your husband? And Emma went, well, yeah, he's called Mike.
I thought you were going to say, look, there's always one in front of his mouth. So, yeah.
Yeah, that too. And then she said, and she said, yep, that's him. And it said, his grandfather's here, John. Right?
Yeah.
My grandfather on my mum's side is called John.
Good, I'm glad about that. I was
Yeah.
going to sit here, we're all going, it's Eric. Sorry.
Yeah, it was like, and the end of this story that I'm telling is, it was bullshit, and this woman was trying to make some money out of my wife.
So she's got your granddad right.
So she said, his grandfather's here. So yeah, a lot of that stuff could be generic, but to come out and the first thing to say about your husband is he funny? And I know humour is subjective, and a lot of people will think that I'm not funny, but with the whole TikTok thing and the podcast thing, and kind of, it's more than just is your husband a funny man sort of thing. Do you know what I mean? Anyway,
yeah.
So she says, so she's got my name. And then she said, his grandfather's here. She said, his grandfather's here, John, on his mum's side. So she got the fact that my maternal grandfather is called John. Anyway, John says to tell him that he's very proud of him. And then she said, I feel like he doesn't have a 9-to-5 job. I'll kind of skip through loads of stuff here. So I feel like he doesn't have a 9-to-5 job.
Did you say he's got a tiny penis on there as well?
No, she got that bit right. She said he's got a massive cock.
No, she didn't say that. Said he is a massive cock.
Sorry, yeah, I just couldn't read Emma's writing there. That was that's what it was. I feel like he doesn't have a 9-to-5. But then one thing she said is the path he's on, tell him to stay on it. He's making progress with it, and he will be financially successful.
Oh.
So
you're quitting the podcast then, I take it.
And then she says, this is his grandfather. It's his grandfather and his grandmother on his mum's side who are laughing. So, look, I haven't got time to go through all the other stuff. Okay, there was loads of other stuff. Emma said in an entire half an hour conversation, she only said one thing that Emma was like, no, she said something about someone called Sue, and Emma was like, don't really know anyone called Sue. She hit on a lot of things, not private to Emma, so I'm not going to go into. But Emma lost her dad when she was young, and the lady said that, and also Emma lost her stepdad just over a year ago, and she mentioned that, and mentioned that they're shaking hands. Did they know each other? And do you know what I mean? So there was loads of stuff because they knew each other, and it was just loads of stuff like that. Anyway, but the reason I bring it up is because, like I say, initially when we spoke to Dana, she said about reincarnation, and my first reaction was, that's horseshit. And then she explained what her son, how her son had been acting, and what things her son had said. And I was kind of like, I say that I'm open-minded about stuff, but I was as soon as she mentioned reincarnation, I shut down pretty quickly. But then she explained, I was like, oh no, go. I kind of reminded myself that I like to pride myself on being open-minded. So I was like, no, come on, just listen. And so after that, I was kind of like, I'm still pretty sure that I don't believe in reincarnation, but I'm not completely closed off to it anymore. Yeah,
yeah. You don't have the full evidence, do you?
No, I haven't got evidence, and I barely know. You know, we've had Dana on the podcast twice. I don't really know her very, very well, but I was kind of like, oh, she's convinced. It sounds interesting. So I kind of opened my mind a little bit more to it, and that's what happened today. Because, like I said, I haven't got time, and I have time, obviously. I was going to say, yes. I haven't got time to go through all that kind of shit. It's a podcast about 45 minutes. I've got fucking plenty of time. What I meant to say was, I'm not going to go through the personal stuff that went beyond that. The reason I've been allowed to say that stuff is it relates to me and not to Emma. But Emma went through, she was talking for about 15 minutes, and then she said this, and then she said that, and there was some stuff that was just like, how the fuck? And, you know, I'm not going to get into the conversation of, like,
auto-suggestions.
Is it real, and suggestions and all that kind of...
Yeah.
And you know, all that, because I mean, I even did a TikTok about taking a piss, going like, well, medium, like, well, you know, if you're in contact, like, why don't you be fucking specific? Do you know what I mean? Tell them the full name and all that. You know, I did all that kind of stuff, so that's kind of where my mind is normally. But what I'm thinking on this is that, I mean, there is loads. She may have been lucky to know, or to not to know. She may have been lucky to. Don't forget, she only knew Emma's first name and her phone number. So, again, my logical mind's going, is there a way, if she's got her first name and her phone number, to kind of back-reference that to then get her full name, to then find out who I am, to then find out who my maternal grandfather is, and all this kind of stuff. But there's just loads of stuff. And then, you know, find out that I do a podcast and all these kind of things. And it was
it's a lot of effort to go for that, isn't it?
Well, she hasn't been paid by Emma yet. This was just literally an initial phone.
No, but even if she had, there's a lot of effort to go to find stuff about you and not Emma, you know.
Yeah, they're talking about me and not Emma. But there was loads of stuff that she said about Emma that there was no way. I mean, she couldn't have known that Emma's dad and stepdad knew each other.
Yeah.
Because they knew each other in Ireland before Emma moved to England, and there's no way she could know that. But anyway, there's loads of other things that she said that she there's no way she could have known. But that's the way my mind works in terms of like trying to figure out how she's done it, like it's a magic trick or all that kind of stuff. When I decided what I was going to do is I was going to take a little step back and just think, just for a minute, just accept this for what it is. Yeah, don't try and pick holes in it as as the stuff's coming out, which is the way my mind normally works, because I'm skeptical about this kind of stuff. So I kind of spoke to myself in my head, and just so let's say I spoke to myself in my head and said, like, fighting this urge to say, this is bollocks, Emma, what you're talking about. And then I kind of fought against my own kind of instinct and said, just accept it as face value for a minute. Stop trying to. It's almost like stop. If you're watching a movie, stop trying to figure out what the special effects are and just kind of lose yourself in it. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
That's kind of what I was trying to do with this. So I took a little step back and I read through those things with a mind to accept them. Yeah. And my granddad, John, is who I put down. Is who. That sounds like I give him a lethal injection at a veterinary surgery. I need to be clear, I did not put him down. He died of natural causes in a hospital. Don't call the police. Yes. What I meant was I'll rearrange the sentence to a way where it sounds like I didn't kill my grandfather by lethal injection. I put my sense of humour down to my grandfather, John, because he was one of the funniest men I ever knew. He had such a dry sense of humour, was really funny and really clever, quick-witted and all that. And I put down the fact that I have some of those attributes myself to him. So it was really interesting and unsaid by this medium, but it's really interesting that she was saying that my grandmother and grandfather were laughing. They're proud of me. And just think, if this is true, and if there is an afterlife, and if my granddad is watching what I'm doing, I think he would be laughing. I think he would be proud of me. And I think he would be saying, just keep going. You're doing the right thing, encouraging me to do it. So whether this is true or not has become irrelevant to me now. I've kind of gone, I'm still pretty skeptical about the whole thing, but I've chosen in this instance to just suspend my disbelief because it's a happier thing to do.
Yeah.
And it's just for the first time in my life, I'm literally 48 years old. I have never thought about anybody in my family who's passed before looking down on me. Ever. Okay? Because it's not something that I have ever believed. Because I'm not a religious man and I don't believe in the afterlife and all that. Let's say didn't. Right? I'm not saying I believe in this. I'm not saying that everything that was said today was true. And I'm not saying all of a sudden I'm a massive believer in the afterlife. And I think all I'm saying now is that I've not blocked it out and I've not written it off as much as I normally would. Yeah, I'm suspending disbelief on this because I want to. Because I loved my granddad. He was a really, really funny man, and I miss him a lot. And to think of him looking down on us doing this, laughing and being proud of me, and somehow being able to see into the future and know that this thing is telling us to stay on this path and that this thing is going to be successful. I just fucking love that.
She didn't mention how much she likes my transitions, I take it.
No, she also didn't mention my grandmother not liking me use the word fuck so much.
Yes.
That literally is the first thing when Emma said, it's your granddad and it's your gran and your granddad watching you, laughing. And I was like, yeah. That's all I could think. It was like, my gran would definitely be saying, can you tone down the F's and the C's, pal? You know what I mean?
It sounds a little bit like Emma got ripped off because, she's obviously spoken a lot about you. It sounds like you should be paying for this. And also, I need to add this. So, if Emma wants a reading from a short, I'll do one, and I won't even mention you at all.
Short as opposed to a medium.
Exactly. And I'll just talk about Emma and not you once. So yeah.
So yeah, she did move on. She did move on from chatting about me, but obviously that's the bit that's relevant.
Yeah.
But yeah, some of the stuff she was saying was just unbelievable, and again with my with my regular belief system and my regular kind of reaction to this sort of stuff, I would be going, oh yeah, but took a lucky hit on that one, But it was just, and I'm not for a second suggesting that all of a sudden I believe in the afterlife and believe that this is true. I'm just saying, like I said before, I'm saying on this one, I'm going to suspend disbelief because I want to. Yeah. And do you know what? I think a lot of faith is like that. Yeah. I think a lot of religion is like that. And I think a lot of people who, there are people who are into certain faiths who will be, who won't go down the road of trying to sense check it or trying to find proof or anything like that because it brings them huge comfort and it brings them things that if they did go down the route of trying to find some kind of proof and it turns out that what they saw disproved it, they would lose a huge part of comfort and a big part of their lives. Again, I'm not saying that I have all of a sudden become a believer in all this kind of stuff. All I'm saying is that on this one, I'm choosing to not reject the fact that my granddad and grandmother are watching us, do think it's funny, and are proud of me, and they know that this is going to become successful, right? The only thing that I'm not happy about is they don't count towards the download figures.
No.
So...
No. Because they're watching it on streaming anyway, aren't they, to be fair?
It's just... it's just... Well, look, although, to be fair, with my renewed, opened mind, I don't know if you can get Spotify and Apple Music in the afterlife, but maybe you can. So... do you know what? When I look at where our listeners are on the stats, there's we've got a huge amount of listeners in the USA, we've got a huge amount of listeners in the UK, then it's like Australia, New Zealand, Ireland, Singapore, and then at the bottom, there's kind of like others or something.
Yeah, there you go.
Maybe that's them.
Well, how many are in there? Because there might be a few more in there.
There might be, but we haven't heard. We haven't heard from them. But going briefly back to, we will move on from this because I know there's a lot of people just thinking, "Stop talking shit, Mike. You've had too much to drink." But there is one thing that they said that she said the reason she started with me is because I am like this, and she was speaking to Emma, who was really open to this kind of thing. So basically, it sounds like my grandfather and grandmother have barged have barged to the front of the queue and gone, look, he ain't gonna fucking listen to her. You listen and tell him, right? That's what it sounds like to me. Which, if that is the case, that's fucking brilliant as well. You know what I mean? My granddad's up there going, he's never going to speak to a medium, is he? I'm gonna speak to him. It's like, hold on. His wife's on the phone. Right, come here. Come on, Molly. Let's run to the front. Barged Emma's family out of the way. It's got, look, we're chatting to her husband first because he's not going to pick up the phone to us. I reckon that's what's happened. With this, I've been through this in my head, for a good amount of time and gone, yeah, it's probably not. And I've kind of pushed that to the back of my mind, just on the off chance, because I don't think enough people. I'm a hugely skeptical man, by the way. So this isn't me saying like, oh, why are people so skeptical? People would live their lives in a more fulfilling way if a lot of the time they kind of lived their life in a way where they kind of said to themselves more often, but what if it is true? Do you know what I mean?
Yeah.
I think that to me, I think is the, I like to say I've got, I said to Dana, I've got an open mind about this. I haven't really. I've got a very closed mind and I'm very, very cynical and skeptical about a lot of things. But I think I'm going to keep reminding myself, what if it is true? Not, so just to open 1 to 5% of my mind, just to think, remember when we were talking to Dana about reincarnation, we were saying, It's not really for me, but I hope it is true. My mind won't let me think this is true. Okay? But I really hope it is. And I really hope that that my granddad and my grandmother are watching us, do think it's funny, do show up in the download statistics, by the way, and I hope to God they're fucking right. That this is that we do stay on this path and this will become financially successful.
Oh no, they're on about something else. It's not this, trust me.
Do you know what it might be? It might be that Chinese advert I did the other week.
That's exactly what it is. The only thing that could possibly be. You're going to be massive in China.
Well, I think that's what. Maybe that's what it meant. Maybe my granddad's gone. No, not the podcast, you dick. That's shit. So that stuff where where you did that advert for China dressed in a Christmas jumper. That's the path you should be staying on, sunshine. That is the path to financial security. Get on that one.
Well, look, everything you've just said sounds really specific. And like, naming you, even if it is the mic, it's still you, naming your granddad. I mean, I don't know, like, so you're saying you're still, like slightly on the fence about it, but that's really specific. I mean, if that doesn't convince you that there is something to it, then nothing else will, right? I mean, it's like, if she got lots of stuff to write about Emma, that sort of can only just solidify, her reading as such. I mean, I don't know how it's done. I don't know if there is somebody, it's like, we've all seen, you've seen the movie Ghost. There's a woman in there who obviously gets in contact with all the afterlife, and she's talking to, Patrick Swayze's character. There has to be something in it if it's that specific to you. It wasn't about you. You weren't on the end of the phone. You're the one who's like literally like the side player in this thing. It's not. You're not even. She hasn't mentioned anything about you to begin with. So. Yeah. It's just too specific for there not to be anything in this particular reading.
And that's it. And like I say, I've only gone into the bit about me and a couple of things about her. But she was saying that she was on the phone for half an hour, and there was literally there was stuff, very specific stuff about her sister, her brother. Like I say, about her dad, her stepdad, her mum, like loads of really, really specific stuff. There was only one thing she said about someone called Sue, that we don't know anyone called Sue. But apart from that, just like everything else hit. And I think, there's. It's just 48 years of being sceptical that has stopped me thinking it's anything other than what it is. But like I say, I think as I get older, I think it is worth opening your mind to more things, and like I say, even if it's just as little as saying, "Well, what if it is true?" And like I say, on this particular one, I'm choosing to. I'm not saying believe. Yeah, I'm not saying I'm choosing to believe this is true, and that my granddad and my grandmother are watching me and things. All I'm saying is that on this one specific thing, I am choosing to suspend my disbelief because I want to, and I would love to think that it is true, and that the man who at a young age nurtured my sense of humour, because he was a fucking funny man, and I like to think that the man that nurtured my sense of humour, without whom I wouldn't be doing what I'm doing now. I wouldn't be doing a podcast. I wouldn't have done the TikTok and the Instagram and the social media stuff if I didn't have the sense of humour which comes from him as well. And I'd love to think that the man who nurtured this when I was young and kind of massively influenced my sense of humour from a young age is watching and is proud and is happy. Because if this is true, I think he would be. Do you know what I mean? So
yeah,
the only thing that's stopping me believing that my grandfather is still proud of me and still wants me to do well, and he's still happy and still thinks, and is still enjoying me. The only thing that's stopping me think that is me. So I've just decided to stop getting in the way of it. I would normally just go through lots of but it might have been this, and try and figure out like it's a magic show, and try you watch a magic show, it's not real magic, so you spend the whole show. I do. A lot of people just go, "Oh, that's amazing," I spend an entire magic show going, wonder how he's done that one. It's like, no, maybe there's a trapdoor at the bottom, maybe it's not a lookalike who's come around and done that. And my mind does that the whole time. So, with this one, I just decided to go, I would love it to be true, so I'm going to stop telling myself it's not.
How do you feel about like everybody else who feels it's true before you got to this point? Because obviously, other people have had similar experiences. In some cases, some people literally they've believed this their entire lives. It's it's the whole kind of crux of their existence. But surely, if someone's that good at come up with the information they have on you, there has to be an element of true on the on the bigger picture for everybody.
Yeah, look, I mean, it's certainly opened my eyes a little bit, maybe about this much.
It sounds a lot more than that. I mean, it's a bit specific. Do you know what I mean?
Look, and it is really specific. And like I say, Emma was on the phone for like half an hour, 45 minutes, and there's like one thing wrong. And normally I would like be hugely skeptical and all that. And I think it's a good point that up until today I would have just like, you're talking shit. And I'm expecting people to be watching this or listening to it and be thinking the same thing about me. But honestly, I'm a hugely, hugely skeptical person, and I think it's very unlikely that this is true. But like I say, I'm just suspending a little bit of that disbelief because I want it to be true. And I'm literally talking people through what's going on in my head.
Yeah. I'm not sceptical at all. Like, my only issue is that if it doesn't happen to me, then fuck it, I'm not interested.
If you get a bad medium and like, oh, for fuck's sake.
Yeah. So if I get a reading, someone says, oh, there's somebody who says that you're a twat, I'm going to like, that's bullshit for a start.
I was like, yeah, they know you very well.
If they go through their only complimentary, then obviously there is going to be a part of you which goes, oh no, I like the fact that someone's come through that says I'm nice. Because imagine someone else that like one of your family that you didn't like or that you knew you hadn't got on well had come through and says, oh, he's a bit melancholy, isn't he? He's a bit sad sometimes. You'd have gone, nah, that's bullshit.
Yeah, but Baz, I like the thought that someone who's passed does come through. Like you get a medium, someone who's passed does come through to you and go, he's a bit of a twat, isn't he? Because I reckon that would be the second piece of evidence that somebody in the afterlife can see our podcast.
Yeah.
Do you know what I mean?
Knobhead.
Like I said, the reason I wanted to talk about this today was just because it comes so soon after we'd recorded and published the episode with Dana.
Yeah.
Which was, again, she started talking about reincarnation. I was like, yeah, bollocks. But again, stopped myself, wound back a bit. And I just think it's made me try and broader than just this situation with my granddad and the situation with conversation we had with Dana. Bro, I hope that this is going to kind of forge more of a kind of an open-minded me going forward.
Nah.
And if it does, then all good. Whether this is true, whether reincarnation is true, whether whatever, like, if it makes me a better person out of it, then all good. And like I say, and if I can believe that my granddad's watching me because I love him, I miss him, and look, we lost him. Oh well, we lost my grandmother just before Molly was born, my daughter. And Molly's going to be 16. So we lost my grandmother 16 years ago, round about now. And we lost my grandfather a couple of years before that. So we're talking about a guy who's been gone for 18 years. I still miss him every day.
Was your grandmother called Molly?
My grandmother was called Molly, yeah.
I'm not a medium, I heard you mention earlier. That's all.
It's like, fucking hell, he's good, isn't he? The man in the funny hat. Hey? My grandmother was called Molly and my daughter is called Molly. My daughter was born a few months after my grandmother passed. It's coincidental.
Okay.
It's coincidental. She's not named after her. My grandmother was Molly with an IE at the end, and my Molly is a Molly with a Y at the end of it. We just loved the name Molly, but when because my daughter was born a couple of months after my grandmother died, when we said that our daughter was called Molly, everyone just assumed that it was named after, and it kind of helped people. It kind of helped people get over the grief, so we never corrected them.
There is a slight connection with that, though, because like you wouldn't name any of your children after somebody that you didn't like. So if you look back in your own head and thought any person that you could remember that you didn't like them, you're never going to name your child after that person. I had the same thing with my daughter. Like when she was born, we were so sure that it was going to be a boy. We only had boys' names
Brittany.
that we'd thought of. Yeah, Brittany. Sorry.
I'm going to bleep it again because I like that bleeping noise that I found.
But it's and the thing was, when we were going through this, then once she was born, she was literally without a name for a couple of days. And when we were going through names, it was like every time, my other half of the time mentioned a name, I was like, oh no, I know someone who's called that, I didn't like them. We ended up with Brittany because I knew somebody called Brittany that was really nice. And when we got to that point, we were just saying that was the only name that we had that we neither of us could contest. So I'm guessing with Molly, even if it was subconsciously, it would be something in your head would say, well, actually, Molly's holds a bit of sort of something. I'm not saying it's directly related to your grandmother. Yeah. But there would be a thing in your head where Molly would seem completely acceptable because there was no sort of negative sort of connotations about it. Do you know what I mean?
Yeah, well, I'm not sure I believe that because, you say that you wouldn't name your kid after someone that, a name that of somebody that you don't like. But funnily enough, like when we were naming Molly, it was down to Molly or Adolf. So,
yeah.
Do you know what I mean?
So I've never named Adolf, is it?
Hopefully this is still entertaining to people. It's there's a lot less fucking about on this episode, so I do apologise for that. This is the first one you listened to. There's a lot more fucking about usually, but
I'm just adding all the funnies.
Yeah, there's a lot less fucking about this time, but hopefully it's entertaining anyway. I do apologise for people who've just tuned in for the usual bollocks, but hopefully it's entertaining and funny anyway. Do you know what I mean?
No, let me jump in here because, this whole thing is about being mildly controversial. This is a mildly controversial subject for a lot of people. For as many people that are going to go, oh, what a load of shit this is, there will be equally as many people that would literally agree with, believe in what you said and said, there's an element of truth. And I'm looking forward to the comments because there will definitely be a lot of people that think very, very strongly about this subject. Yeah. And I don't, because it hasn't affected me. And that doesn't mean that I'm sceptical. It just means, as we've said before, if I'm untouched by something, I tend not to sort of, spend any time on it. But there will be lots of people that would will agree with what you're saying and, and see what you said, that there's got to be an element of truth in it. Yeah. And there's so many people as well that we discussed this in the podcast with Dana. It's about faith at the end of the day. We don't do religion, although we're getting very fucking close to it now. Mm-hmm. I just think there's going to be people on here that will go, no, that's perfectly plausible. And Mike, why have you been so sceptical up to now?
I'm a very sceptical man, I think it's a great point, Baz. I think a lot of people will be watching and listening and have very strong views either way about this, which is ironic because I would normally, if I was watching somebody else talk the way I've talked in this podcast, I would probably have been going, you fucking idiot. It's just chance, or it's just this. The only reason the only reason I haven't been like that with this one is because I hope it's not bollocks in this instance.
Yeah.
And like I say, if I think it's opened my mind a little bit, and irrespective of how you feel about certain things, opening your mind is never a bad thing.
No.
It's never a bad thing. So having an open mind about things is never a bad thing. Seeing more than one side of the story is never a bad thing. And it's quite pertinent, actually, because with the way modern life is now and the way social media goes, people are only getting one side of a story these days because an algorithm sees what you like and shows you more of it. So people are getting funneled down into only getting one side of the story now. So now more than ever, I think having an open mind is a good thing. And what happened today has shown me that a little bit of how much better my life could be and how much better a person I could be if I just opened my mind a little bit. So if nothing else, whether it's bollocks or not, if nothing else, if I've learned that lesson today, then it's been a good thing.
Well, it's been worth staying on this podcast to listen to you reach that kind of opinion about yourself.
Baz, it's like an epiphany.
Oh.
Listen, many thanks for everybody for listening this far.
You're assuming somebody is.
we might have one person who's listened who's not gone, can we go back to them just fucking about? So if you are listening, do you know what? Here we go, right? If you are still listening at this point, let's get people, if they're listening, let's get people to go on Facebook and put a certain word in the comment section to show that they've stuck this through.
Can we have a ghost emoji on, please?
So we need a word followed by a ghost emoji, so we know that people have listened this far. Because if you have, then thank you so much for having faith. Because hopefully it's still been entertaining. But yeah, there's a lot less fucking about and being dickheads than there normally has. We've actually got into quite a serious conversation, but hopefully it's still been entertaining anyway. So,
well, no, I think as well that, like we said, yeah, we aimed in the first place to come up with some odd controversial opinions. That there are very few that are as controversial as this in terms of, you know, like evoking conversations with people.
Yeah.
I think a lot of people will quite like listen to this because it's a different slant and stuff as well. And obviously, you know, you're looking quite vulnerable right now, and I think that's quite good for me.
Being vulnerable is okay, Baz. It's okay.
Yes.
It's okay to be vulnerable. And do you know what? I just think that. So what I want to do is I want people who are still watching and still listening to go to the Facebook page, find the post of this episode, and I want you to post Prosecco. Literally, because I've just looked to one side and I've got a bottle of it there. I want you to post the word Prosecco with a ghost emoji if you've made it this far through.
Yeah.
And so we know that at least somebody has.
Well, I will. I've made it this far.
No, don't you do it. Don't you do it. You'll give the game away. Because then hopefully what we'll get people who've listened to it this far doing that, posting Prosecco with a ghost emoji. They'll prove that they've got this far through. And also, the people will be like, what the hell are they on? Why have they posted that? That's weird. So anyway, listen, normally we end on a bombshell, but I'm guessing that this week's bombshell is less like on that bombshell. It's more.
Yeah.
The bombshell is that, on something that I would normally have just completely dismissed and said it's horseshit, you've basically let me figuratively lie down on a psychologist's couch and just chat in hopefully an entertaining way about what's gone through my mind today. And that's been beautiful. It's been cathartic. And thank you, Baz, for being with me on this journey.
Well, yeah. Just before you finish, though, I've got just let me have a last thing before you close.
Yeah.
I think it's one of those subjects, particularly for someone who is a skeptic, to have their eyes open to it. Because for you, you got to the age of 48 and never really considered it before. You're looking at it now, kind of going, "What's next? What else can come along and change my thoughts on the world?" And that can only be a good thing, right?
And do you know what, Baz? I'm thinking that maybe I'm wrong about mushrooms being fucking horrible.
I was literally about to say that same thing.
Hell, I knew if we waited long enough, we'd get to an on that bombshell. Many thanks, everybody, for listening. You notice I didn't say pineapple and pizza because that is fucking wrong, and I'm staying closed-minded about that one.
And Bob was going to fuck off.
Anyway, so thank you very much, everybody, for listening. Thanks for indulging me in this psychologist's couch of an episode. Hope you've enjoyed it, and if this is your first one, like, spin on to the next one. There'll be a lot more pissing about. There'll be a lot more like just inane bullshit. So thanks for sticking with us. Thanks for it. Listen, you know what I'm going to say. If you have enjoyed this, do all the subscribey shit. Subscribe, like, share it with your friends, do what you can, because every time people do that, it helps us drive this. And do you know what? If this does not become successful because you didn't subscribe or you didn't like, You've got John in the sky to answer to, because he promised me that this was going to be successful. So thanks, everybody, for watching and listening, and we will see you next time.
Ta-da.